Hi, my name is Darlene Carmen, and welcome to the Painting Gourmet Show. This show was created just for you. I have a special show for you today. Sue Howell, the Executive Director of the Wildlife Education and Rehabilitation Center, is here, and she brought some of her wildlife ambassadors. So this is going to be a real treat. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you.
Thank
and
you.
I really appreciate, bringing these animals. You and your assistants. I mean, I know that that's not easy, especially in this kind of weather. So I really appreciate that.
Well, we're glad to be here.
So what I find interesting about you is, is that you started out as a volunteer, something any of us could do.
Yes.
But the Wildlife Center is a result of this early volunteerism, so I think that's pretty unique. So tell us the whole story.
Well, first off, you have to understand that I grew up very fearful of animals. I was raised in San Francisco, and I had two brothers, older brothers, and they would tease me at times when I was small, and they'd bring a snake from the yard or something and dangle it in front of me, and it scared me, and that stayed with me. And as I grew up, again, I was very fearful, and even a bird flying around, it scared me. And then as I got older, it's still again with me until one time I saw my small children imitating me. And they were out, there was a toad outside, and they go, "Don't touch it, it's slimy, it's gooey, it's bad," and everything. That was me. And I thought, this is wrong, because I passed this on to my children. And so one summer we went on a field trip to a nature center, and at the center they brought around a bird, and at that time you were able to touch them, and this was an owl. And so I got the courage and I touched it, and then came a mammal, and no problem, I could touch that. And then came the snake, and I was absolutely terrorized, just awful. And I got the courage and I touched it, and I realized how wrong I was, and that was due to ignorance. And so I signed up to become a docent, volunteer, and I started with the educational animals. And I'd go out to the schools, and I would have an owl on my hand, and I'd say, "This is a barn owl, and they can be very dangerous. They can come at you with their talons and can hurt." Well, in reality, I didn't know what I was talking about, because this was a tame animal that was on my hand. And as more and more I did these programs, people would then come to me and say, "I found this injured animal." See, they were associating wildlife. And so then I started working with the injured animals and realized then, oh my gosh, the strength that the talons have in here and everything, and it just kind of all came together. And it evolved more and more as I would take classes, and I would find training to care for these injured and orphaned wildlife, and it just grew and grew and grew. And
then you formed the Wildlife Center.
Yes. Well, one year was back in 1990 that the Nature Center that actually became more involved with what it was doing ran into budgetary constraints. And so they were no longer going to be able to fund the program. So our community, we got together with some of the people in the community, veterinarians and other people, and said, we need to keep this program going, because the wildlife rehabilitation was very big at this time, because people were bringing in animals, and it's a lot of work. And also, the state and federal government does not allow you to charge. So we also had to do fundraising, and it was a lot to keep this program going. And so I did not feel qualified to run an organization. And I just felt that I had to find, really, is this my calling? To do it. I could care for those animals, I could go to the schools, but it was very hard for me to decide if I was really to be able to do this. And so I got in my car and took off for the day, and I drove and drove and drove and wound up over by Santa Cruz area. And I got out on the beach, walking around, and I said, I need to see an animal that needs help. I need a sign. And I walked and I watched all the birds and everything. Nothing. Ah. Nothing. Nobody came up with that dangling wing
Help
or anything.
Me, help me.
Yeah, exactly, nothing. And so I went home. I was very depressed. And when I drove in the driveway, my son went. He came out and said, "Where have you been?" He said, "You got a call from this person. They need you to get this hawk." Another one had a turkey vulture and everything. And I just broke down and I said, "It's
this
here.
This is your sign.
This is it. This is my sign. It's right here. I didn't have to go anyplace."
Wow.
And so then I took on the position of WERC, operating
I'm so
it.
glad that you did.
So, yeah, well, in a way, I am too. It's been 25 years of doing this, but it is very important. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I read in the paper, that's one reason why I met you already prior to this months ago, but I read in the paper about this red-tailed hawk that had been shot, and his wing was broken, and you are fixing him up. So tell me, how are you treating this bird, and will it be able to fly, do you think?
This is a tough case. This is a beautiful, beautiful red-tailed hawk. And it was flying free when somebody shot it with buckshot. And it fell to the ground, and somebody picked it up, and then it was passed on eventually to us. And her wing is broken. It's shattered in the radial ulna in this area. And so it has been x-rayed because the veterinarian worked in showing where the buckshot was, but the shattered wing. And so what we've done, and the wing is similar to ours, because this is where the wrist would be for flight feathers. They have a radial ulna, they have an elbow, they have the humerus here on the shoulder, except it's bent differently.
Yeah.
And so in here, what we did is we used a very special, this is a vet wrap. And we worked on this, and being able to wrap it, we had to fold the wing up.
Like that?
Yeah, and then we did a wrap around here to stabilize everything. And the big concern that we had was that with this wing being wrapped, that the joints did not freeze. Because if there's not enough movement here, they will freeze, and therefore she would never be able to extend out the primaries to fly or to be free. And that's a death sentence in a way. So in doing this, what we would do is, plus she was on antibiotics, a lot of medication because of the injury. Yes, and then also underneath her chin here, she had a buckshot there. And so she wasn't really able to eat. And we had to force feed her.
Wow.
And so then...
What a trooper.
Oh, she was. She's a survivor.
Yes.
And she had that. She was a trooper, a fighter, and everything.
Good.
So when we'd have to every few days is take the wrap off, and very carefully we would go and make sure this area was stabilized, and we had to move. We had to move her joints and do some stretching without injuring her, because this had to build up to calcify. But here we didn't want it to freeze, and then she was wrapped up again. And so it was a lot of work, and we're just
I don't even know how you would know what to do. I mean, without injuring. She's already injured. I mean, you know, pulling on her gently. This is it.
Yeah, we had to go very easy here. And so now what is going on is her bandage is off. And we feel the calcification here, a big lump, which is wonderful because it means everything's knitting together. And so she has rotation and all that, and we've moved her to a flight aviary, a small one, so she can exercise. And we have a nanny cam. We still got a little one to set it up, and we're able to watch her to make sure she's doing the physical therapy. Then we will be going in and doing more physical therapy on her to make sure that her joints are good. And it will be a while before she could be released. Okay, that's why her name is Hope.
But you really think then she's going to be able to fly?
Yes, I do.
Even though the buckshot's still in there?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But she will fly.
Yay.
I know, it's wonderful. It's, you know, when you have the volunteers, because our volunteers that have come on, they don't know a lot with wildlife, you know, the injuries and all and we train them. And they feel so wonderful, especially when they've worked on an animal and they're there for the release.
That's so special. Now, we don't have Bobby the Bobcat here because Bobby the Bobcat was released in 1995.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
But describe what the staff had to do as surrogate mothers to help this guy, and also the special approach received national and international recognition.
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Well, this is something that nobody did. In doing with the Bobcat, a surrogate program, because bobcats are, and when they come in, and we take in the little babies, that's what we specialize in now. But when we received this little bobcat, and I know she was orphaned and everything, and came in, we found another bobcat up in Lake Tahoe area, and we wanted to transfer, but Fish and Game did not allow it because of genetic integrity. So we had a choice. Either we could put it into a zoo, we could try an experiment with it, or we can euthanize it. So we decided to try something new, and that was where, where you've seen where they feed the condors and the eagles. They have a puppet and everything.
Yes.
Well, we went beyond that, because learning more about natural history, about with the bobcat, they need to have love, attention, and cuddling. So we developed a program, a surrogate bobcat parent program. And I want to introduce you to Maureen Gerson, who is wearing one of our costumes. And Maureen has been a surrogate mother. And what it is this costume. Now, the bobcat doesn't know that it's, what it is in a way there. And all it is that you go down, we developed a program where the surrogate mother would dress in a complete body costume. And actually, before the costume goes on, they take and they rub the body with herbs, and sometimes in the beginning with bobcat urine.
Yeah.
Okay, because what we're doing is masking the odor of a human.
Sure.
No human odor. There's no talking allowed, and there's no seeing of a human. And so Maureen has herbs here, and what's very important is we use local herbs that the bobcat would find in the wild. And so it would be rubbed all over the body, and then she would go down into the enclosure on hands and knees and everything, going in and interact with the bobcat. So the bobcat recognizes the bobcat outfit, not the person in it.
Yes.
Because we'd have a team. We'd even have men in there. And they would go in and interact with the cat. And this goes on for about 6 months. And then there's also negative. So this is a positive, what we call. And then the negative is when a human goes in, maybe to use a catch pole to get it. So when it sees a human, that's a negative. And when we release the bobcats, they are fearful of humans. They're not aggressive. They're fearful. They see a human and they will go the other way.
That's good.
And so it's a hot costume and everything. But it first a lot of skeptics out there, but now a lot of people are following our lead. And we did receive a lot of calls from different countries asking about this and about our program.
So you were the first to do that.
We're the first to really get involved with. Thank you. And we've talked at various conferences and shared this information with anyone that needs to in there.
That's great. That's just wonderful.
So Maureen, thank you.
That's great. Well, now you have a resident since 1989, and how long does a gopher snake live?
Oh, it's hard to tell. It's very hard. We've had Lazarus is his name since
Lazarus.
Yes, since as you said, 1989. So what are we talking about? 20 years, and we've had him for anywhere. Well, we've had him 20 years, but he was at least between 5 and 10 years old when we got him. So he's very old, and it's hard to tell how long they live in, because usually they're in the wild and you don't know. Because of enemies and everything out there. But he is old. But he's wonderful. Now Colleen is going to bring out Lazarus.
Watch your step there.
Okay. This is Lazarus. And this snake helped me get over my fear. And when he came to us, he was injured. And it happened to be that he was crossing the road, and a boy on a bicycle ran him over deliberately, and his head is smashed. His head is smashed. And some other children in the park where they lived saw this, and they ran to chase the boy off because he was turning the bike around, ready to go again.
Wow.
And so they picked up the snake. They thought he was dead, and they were going to go bury him. And all of a sudden, he wrapped his tail around to see if he's going to do it. He's great at wrapping the tail around the finger. And they knew he was alive, so they started their search to get some help. And they went to a person that handled snakes and everything, that they knew where they lived, and he didn't know what to do because the head was smashed. And I went to a veterinarian, and he worked with it, injections, everything, and then it came to us. And And many times I thought he was dead. He was in
Yes.
this enclosure, keeping him warm and everything.
Yeah.
And then I'd pick him up and wrap around the tail. And so then after about 3 months, he all of a sudden kind of woke up and went through a shed, and we've had him ever since.
Oh,
His
amazing.
depth perception is gone. He's very slow when he moves looking for food. And in the wild, he would have died. And most people looking at the snake have no idea that he is really injured, but he does have the scar on the top. And he is in pre-shed. And pre-shed is when they're going to go shed their skin because it's too tight. But with him coming here, it's okay because of the he's so with the brain damage.
Yeah, they usually want to be left alone
We do
during that
leave him
time.
alone, yeah. And so he's a little dull in there. But with the snakes,
colors.
I want to point out that I have here. These are our props, okay. The different snakes. Now we have like the snake here, the gopher snake. This is a king snake model, and this is a rattlesnake. Now, you notice the difference in the shape of the head. On the west coast here in California, the only poisonous snake we have is the rattlesnake. And the king snakes have narrow heads. But in other parts of the country, narrow-shaped heads on the snake can also mean a poisonous snake. So I think with any reptile that people have or around their yards or
Anywhere,
look,
whatever state you're
that's
in.
right. They
Get to
need
know what's out there.
You know, that's the most important thing because people don't, and they see snakes and all they want to do is kill them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're important to us.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
he is a wonderful snake.
He's
Very old,
tasting.
very old. He's
I don't
smelling
think
around.
I have any cologne on. I purposely didn't wear any cologne.
And he's a wonderful, and he's very
sensing.
special to all of us. He has been touched by children. When we go into a classroom, we have, or even at events, we will have disinfectant wipes, and
Yeah.
people clean their finger, and then they're able to touch just in one part of the body, because to get over that fear.
Yeah.
Remember
yeah.
my children, slimy, gooey
Yeah.
on that, you know, with the toad. And so they do that, and it helps them to understand and try and get over their fear. And then they wipe off their hand and go on. So it works out very,
that's
very
amazing.
good. Okay.
Now, your very first educational animal you had for 20 years.
Yes.
And then you just died this last year.
Yes, we did.
And very, very popular. And now you have a replacement. So let's meet Luna.
Luna. Yes, our resident great horned owl died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it took us months to go through the grieving process. And he was very special to us and to all the volunteers.
20 years.
20 years, absolutely. When some live longer.
And
Okay.
you had him on your logo.
Yes, he's been our
It's
logo,
yeah.
and so very special. So Luna is our newest ambassador, and she is, of course, a great horned owl. And you kind of hear her in the background.
Yeah, I want to
possibly.
see her because we have like
She
10
is
minutes.
beautiful.
So
Okay,
it's like
she is absolutely beautiful. She is a young owl.
Yeah.
She's about 10 months old, and she came from
There
Southern
she is.
California, and she is
look at her.
non-releasable. Now, as she comes a little bit closer.
Little
with
closer?
Her, little closer. Okay.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Isn't she gorgeous?
She is just.
Now, she fell from her nest, and when she fell from the nest, she sustained a horrible injury. And the injury to her beak, it grows crooked. And so there she also has had eye injury, and but she's doing very good. Her eye injury, she's been to the ophthalmologist who's working with her presently, you know, taking care of the cornea there. Her beak should be coming down, the upper beak coming down, meeting the lower one. Hers does not. It's crooked. So it has to be constantly filed so she can close her beak to be able to eat. So in the wild, she would starve to death.
Oh, now she's not fully grown, you say?
No,
Luna.
no, yeah.
So she's halfway grown?
Yeah, she has to
pretty
fill
big.
out. Yes, the great horned owls are the biggest owls that we have around here.
Oh.
They're the most common owl in the United States, also, and they are a very large owl. They go after a lot of rodents. They'll go after snakes, and they're the only ones that go after a skunk. Yeah.
I've never seen one flying around, but I do see barn owls, the white ones.
The whitish one, the barn owls
Yeah.
around. See what you have here. This is a wing of a great horned owl. Now, we have permission from Fish and Wildlife to be able to have artifacts because it is against the law to possess any bones, feathers, anything belonging to a migratory bird. So we have here, and the soft, now feel how soft it is.
Oh, yes.
And they are the softest of all, are the owls.
That's very
This is
soft.
a red-tailed hawkwing. And the difference is, you see the feathers here, these are the primaries for flight. And that will cause the bird, when it flies, it extends out these primaries.
Yes.
With an owl, you notice how rounded it is. These birds will be high in the sky flying. These aren't as high. And they stay within their habitat.
It is different. You have to check the wings.
You have to check the
That's
wings. And they fly at night, so they're soft. They're quiet. Where a bird during the day, it's too noisy out there, so he doesn't have to be really quiet. But these will fly at night, and she's very, very soft.
Very
so they
soft.
come out.
Beautiful.
She will eat maybe five mice a night without any problem.
Are these like fixed, ready cooked and ready
We
raw?
don't cook them. They have to be raw. Yeah. For
but
us,
not live, right?
No, we don't have to. She's in captivity, and so in her enclosure, she's fed deceased rodents. Good. Yeah, no, that's it.
Thanks.
But in the wild, she would be out capturing
sure.
mice and rats and a variety of things.
Different story when you're out in the wild.
That's it. That's survival.
Yes.
But she will be with us. She's under the best medical care because of our work with rehabilitation.
Yeah.
We know how to work with the educational ambassadors too.
So we should see Oscar.
We
should, we're getting a little low on time. I want to see Oscar.
Okay.
Look at Oscar.
This
mighty.
is Oscar.
This is a mighty owl.
Oh, yes. Now, when we take out the birds, people will go and say, "Oh, look at the baby owl." It is not a baby owl.
No.
He is 12 years old. And you can see his eye. He is blind in one eye, and that's due from an injury by a vehicle.
What type of owl?
He's a screech owl.
Screech owl.
Western screech owl. Now, in the eastern part of the United States, they will be redder, and they're called the eastern screech owl. But this is a western screech owl, and you can see how close coloration and formation that both these owls are. But again, they're two different owls. This is the old timer, 12 years, and this is the young one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So which one's noisier? This is a screech owl, you know.
Yeah, but it doesn't screech. It has a beautiful. It's wrong. The name is wrong. Okay, it's a beautiful trill to it, and the
No, we don't want to fly. No, not really.
It's nighttime. Okay.
Look how beautiful.
Okay, now.
You're all right. You're okay. I hear
That's her
you.
sound.
I've been hearing you for a while.
She's been making that sound. When she gets a bit older, she'll start hoo-hooing.
Yeah.
And that's the one that does around here is the hooting.
Oh,
and the
that's
screech
adorable.
owl makes a beautiful trill. And so they're just wonderful.
Well, now, these owls act as, at least this one does, as surrogate mom. Can they also do to another species, or do they have to stay within their own?
It will be within their own species.
Within their own species. That
And
makes
so
sense.
will Oscar. He will be a surrogate. And so we have a red-tailed hawk. She's a surrogate parent. And these help when the babies come in, that they imprint onto their own species, so that way they can be raised up and released.
Yeah, I was reading on your website, and it's very, very interesting on things like that you have to return. I'm trying to remember which bird this was. I don't want to get mixed up. But you have to return this one bird to a particular place within 2 weeks, or otherwise.
Oh, yes.
What bird was that?
That's our acorn woodpecker.
That's your acorn. Oh,
yeah, we specialize in those two.
I saw that one when I saw
yes,
it. Yes,
yeah.
Beautiful
Clarabelle.
bird.
And
Clarabelle.
yes.
Your newest.
One of our newest ambassadors.
So they have to be returned to a place within, otherwise they'll get booted out of the family.
They're not accepted in the family. They're one of the, they're two, it's a socialist. I know, it's soft.
Just don't poop on
No,
me, please.
I know.
What are some of the big common mistakes that people make? That you want to tell them something.
Well, they find, especially during baby season, when people find a baby bird or a mammal, they want to help it.
Yes.
And so the first thing they think, we have to get food for it. Yes. And so we get people that will find like a songbird, and they go and they give it spaghetti because it looks like a worm. And with animals, they have to be fed the right nutrition. And also like with an owl. The owl, if it's not fed the proper food, within 2 weeks it can develop bone disease, and the disease is irreversible.
Within 2 weeks?
Within 2 weeks. These guys grow very fast, and they have to be fed the right food. Not hamburger, not steak.
No,
they need a rodent.
So people need to go to the proper place.
That's right.
A licensed place like yours
Yeah.
that can help them and not just try to fix them up at home.
Right.
Because actually, let's see, my dad used to have an aviary, and all I remember was whenever he had to feed a bird, it was chopped egg. Now, yeah.
No.
That's not good,
No,
right?
no.
That was 1,000 years ago.
Of course, of course.
But
Things
you know,
have
chopped egg is
changed.
what I remember. So
Yeah.
one time when I found a bird, I tried to do that. I couldn't feed it.
no,
You know, you need to go to someone that knows what they're doing.
The best place to go is contacting your state's Fish and Game Department.
Okay.
And going online, and they usually have a list of licensed wildlife rehabilitators. That's what's important. Don't go to just a friend who says, I can raise it. There's a lot to this. We check for diseases and everything.
What other services do you do for the community? You do a ton of things, I
Yeah,
know.
we do, answer telephone calls for people that have problems, because when they find an animal, we can keep out about 80% of those animals don't have to come to us. People find a little baby bird on the ground. Well, it's that time it should be on the ground. And it's learning how to be a bird, to muscle build up and fly.
So don't rescue it.
Don't.
Leave it alone.
Call your local wildlife center. See if it really has to come in.
Yeah.
That's really
Because the
important.
mom's probably nearby waiting for you to leave
Exactly.
so she can get back to the bird.
Exactly, especially with mammals, like people find bobcats or they'll find an injured owl down there. And we tell children, please do not pick them up. Always go to an adult, because the animal's afraid it might try and hurt you, and we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So safety for everyone.
So you go into the schools, you do educational programs?
We do educational programs. We bring in the animals so they're able to see. We have the artifacts. We have a lot of things that they're able to touch and to feel and to understand. So it's a circle going from learning about wildlife, doing the wildlife, the rehabilitation, understanding their natural behavior, and being able to take that and express it into education. And it's wonderful because it's a complete circle.
And you have a photo, what do you have coming up?
Oh, we have coming up soon. It's called Pet Photo Day, and a local famous photographer, Paige Jackson, will take a picture of you and your animal. And there's a fee for it, but all the proceeds come to us, 100%.
When is that? Will it be on the...
It'll be on the website.
It's on the website.
And we also have a concert
But the
coming
month,
up
do you know?
February.
Well,
yeah,
that's
it'll be
coming
February.
right up.
It is there, and the concert we're going to have it in April, and we have our annual barbecue and auction fundraiser
so
in
for
May.
all of this, people need to go to the website, and also there's some neat videos on there. I think something from YouTube, even surgery. You can watch a little surgery. So go on the website, check out what's going on, and see more of these animals. I wish that we introduced all of them, but time's just not there. So anyway, go on the website. You'll see more animals, and thank you for watching the show, and watch again. These animals.